I've said that Blade is one of my favorite characters in comic books and mainstream comic books. And when it was announced that there would be a Blade movie, I was kind of, let's say, not that enthusiastic. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But then it starts to set in, the reality starts to set in, and you realize what age we're dealing with Marvel. It's probably not going to be rated R. It's probably going to be a PG-13 cornball ass Blade. And I saw that happen, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, this is probably dead on arrival. Blade is probably dead on arrival, and they're already fucking him up in the comic books with that idiot that was responsible for Safe Space and Snowflake of the New Warriors. Gets to write. Somehow you fell upward. You put out something that's so bad that they can't even publish it, and now all of a sudden here we are. Now all of a sudden, Daniel Kibblesmith now gets to write Blade. We've already covered that. You can watch the previous shows. I don't know why my dogs are howling right now. I'm trying to do a goddamn segment. Hey! Shut up! Shut up! Anyway, continuing going. What are these guys doing, man? Or I'm in the middle of a segment, bro. Anyway, hold on, y'all. Hold on. I know it's in the middle of a segment, but y'all got to hold on real quick. Anyway, Blade director Bassam Tariq says the new film won't be boxed in by Marvel's comics canon. Man, this whole segment has been ruined. Of the Marvel announcements made in San Diego Comic-Con back in 2019, none were quite as surprising as the news that the new Blade series, obviously with Ali and the director Bassam Tariq, he signs on a few months later. In the time since the movie's announcement, the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe has continued to chug along with new cinematic projects, like, of course, Shang-Chi, The Eternals. And here we go right here. It's Tariq, who, again, is the director. He said in a recent interview, this is with the playlist, the director opened up about his experience with the project so far, while Tariq didn't go into details about the movie script, which was penned by screenwriter by Stacey Osei Kuffour. He explained how Marvel's giving creative team a fair amount of freedom to build a narrative in the service of the story they wanted to tell. That tells me right there, this shit's DOA. What's so great is it's not as boxed in as I think people imagine it to be. We know that nothing comes out of Marvel is boxed in. It's a free-for-all, which is the problem, which I thought it was, but it's quite exciting, and I think the reality, there is no Blade canon. He says in some comics his name is Fred H. Blade, instead of Eric Brooks. Tariq pointed out, unfortunately, the runs never lasted that long, and there have been some interesting, exciting ways, but I can say the new movie is character first. Oh, man. So basically what he's saying is that fuck canon. We're going to do what we want to do, and Marvel's giving us the freedom to do that. Now, look, I get it. There was kind of you started to see a shift from because Blade, old school Blade with the fro and all of that shit. With the release of Wesley Snipes' Blade, they started to change kind of his look for the better, I would say. For sure. I mean, obviously characters grow through their own development, and they started to change that to make it be more akin to something that was presentable, and it worked out right. Now, I'm not oblivious to that. But that made sense for that character. And definitely when you consider everything that happened out of that and the growth of Blade that we saw from basically the late 90s going into the mid 2000s, which was some of his most prominent work, to act like that is something to not follow lets me know that it's dead on arrival. But I guess the more important thing to point out here is all this does is reassure, or rather confirm, everything that I've said about Marvel going forward. Marvel does not care about canon. See, a lot of this stuff that they're about to do going forward is more nostalgia bait, and a lot of it's going to be bait and switch. Nostalgia, bait and switch. That's basically what Marvel Cinematic Universe is going to be. And what they're going to do is they're going to take characters. Some of them you didn't ask for. Yeah, you'll get like the Kamala Khans and America Chavez's and all of the Riri Williams characters nobody fucking asked for that appear. But the ones that do appear that are decent, they're not going to act anything like their comic book counterparts, kind of like what we see with Tom Holland's Spider-Man, who is not Spider-Man. He's not Peter Parker. He's just some motherfucker going around in a red and blue Spidey suit that fucking web slings is it. But it's because the people that are attached to the projects don't care, right? And they have their vision of what they want it to be. Sometimes it'll be social views and stuff that they want to focus on. They want to make sure that story gets told. And now a character that the people know of, like Blade, gives them the opportunity to do that. I understand that. And though I'm not fond of that, that's just the direction that this company is going in, where everything is a free for all. And in like my conversation I had, again, big shout out to Larry Sharp, of this, I think people undermine how much folks care about that. And this is, to make it about me, of course, and my company, and one of the things that we start, how we're going to do this company, I keep talking about like canon and continuity being things that matter. Like, these are things that are important. And I think Marvel believes now, DC as well, that nobody cares about that. Like, the characters aren't characters at all. They're more brands. They're suits. They're uniforms. So who's in it? Their stories can be changed and altered. It doesn't matter. And to be fair, there are a lot of, like, for example, the MCU stands. Yeah, they don't read books. They don't give a shit about any of that. But I think they overstate how dependable and reliable that company, or rather that demographic, is. And they don't seem to understand how much people care about that. This is why I say they have nothing to lose by going off the prominent, let's say, comic book arcs. They have nothing to lose. It's new to the normies anyway. They're going to like it anyway. So all you do effectively when you say, you know what, we need to reimagine this character, and you just change fucking everything, and the character only looks like him, or he's just the character in name. That's good enough for normies, but for a lot of people, that's like, what's the point? Like, if you're not going to use the character that's somewhat recognizable, what's the point? So canon, as they said, comic book canon, according to this Tariq, who was the director, they not put in a box, which they should be. Absolutely, I agree. I would say if you do a comic book character, and this could apply to anything else, if you're doing characters based on novels or whatever, absolutely you should be placed in a box. That's where creativity what it actually is. I'm going to end on this. No, you heard me say this before. Creativity is not a fucking free-for-all, which some people seem to think that. No, creativity is being able to operate within whatever confines are set with what it is that you're trying to portray, and then you still come out of that doing something, right? When you see basketball guys that can handle the ball really well, right? It's not, though, it's within the confines, right? You can't have someone, though, yeah, I know NBA has been very lenient on traveling these days, but you get what it is that I'm saying. You can't just fucking pick up the ball and do some like fucking and1 mixtape shit. No, it's more of, okay, Kyrie Irving can handle the ball like he's a magician with the rock. But they're still within those confines of what the rules of the actual game actually is. And that's what makes them creative. Creative isn't just doing whatever the fuck you want to. And unfortunately, a lot of people get that mixed up. You just watched a clip from my podcast, For Canon's Sake.
Catch us live at 12 p.m. throughout the week over at youtube.com/YoungRipper59 and follow us over at odyssey.com/@YoungRipper59. If you want to watch the entire video cast after the show is over, just be sure to become a member on the YouTube channel. Of course, the full audio portion of the podcast is available for free on all major digital platforms, or just visit forcanonsake.com.